I'm Lizanne Flynn. I'm a master healer who holds space for any earthling as they reunite body and soul. I am a bridge for relationships between all species so that the heart bond becomes stronger, deeper, and more loving. I serve in the roles of animal communicator, medium, and medical intuitive, and I use the tools of shamanic journeying and soul retrieval to support all earthlings in their recovery from past trauma. I'm certified as a canine massage therapist and Reiki master teacher. This is the Animals iView podcast. This week's podcast comes courtesy of my various forays into social media, and those that went well, or so I thought, and those that didn't go so well. As I've often said, no good comes from commenting on a stranger's post on Facebook or X Twitter or Instagram or any of them, quite honestly. It made me that much more aware of the cultural norms that we create within our mini tribes, if you will, and at the cost of the larger societal norms whose landscape seems to be rapidly shifting. And even if it rapidly shifts, we're really terrible at avoiding the sand traps or the quicksand that come as a result of our insistence that it not shift so rapidly. Thank you very much. And at least for us in our own corner of what I'm being told to say, the kitty litter box / sandbox of human experience and our interactions with each other. Yikes. That's hardly a ringing endorsement for how well we play or don't play with each other, right? Because the fact of the matter is we don't. We're keen enough to set up our rules and guidelines for our particular group, and we'll get to how we group together in a minute, and woe to those newcomers to the group or those who otherwise transgress those group rules. Fangs are bared, claws are drawn, hackles are raised in an instant. Heck, we don't even have the degrees of reaction that animals do. With dog as an example, it usually starts with some lip licking or stress yawns to communicate being uncomfortable. In another minute or so, the Elvis lip curl might appear and/or a low growl in the throat. There might be a hard stare and an equally fixed tail raised like a flag. Then there's usually a pause to see if the receiver got the message of back the F up. From there, it might be an air snap or bark along with the previous signs, with the time between all of these and the unavoidable outcome of teeth to body if there wasn't a shift in what's perceived as a threat. With cat, it's a similar thing. The puffing up of the body and tail to look bigger, the low growl along with the hiss comes in. There may be some initial backing up, and it won't be too long, though, until the front paw comes out. Not yet with claws extended, perhaps, to whap whap the heck out of the offender of cat's space. And if all of those fail to elicit the desired response, there will be more hissing and growling, along with the scream of, "It's war now," and biting and clawing both front and back will ensue. I'm hearing an imitation of Mr. T's "I pity the fool," said as dog and cat everywhere nod their heads in knowing exactly what happened. We seem to have a pretty low threshold as human animals of feeling transgressed upon, at least from the animal's point of view. They say that the individual ism we elevate above the collective is the cause of our insecurity with each other, and that reverberates into the group alliances we hold on to as a mirror of usually our wounds. If you look at this from a 1,000-foot perspective for just a second, here's what the animals say exists for us. We all have the same physical form design of human animal, period. We have a skeleton, muscles on top of that, nerves and organs squished in a bit that's held together by tendons and ligaments and covered with skin, furry in some places for protection, and with a head containing eyes, ears, nose, and a mouth. We have appendages such as 2 arms and 2 legs, fingers and toes at the respective ends of those appendages that are protected by hardened keratin. We have eyebrows and eyelashes protecting our eyes, and in most cases, we have 2 of what we need externally. So if we lose one, we can just depend more on the other. And powering everything below the surface is the magnificent life force energy, aka soul, that stitches all of our lifetimes together. Wowza. Come on. That's quite a setup on this planet, right? Our bodies were tailor made to thrive on this planet alongside all other species because look around you. There's literally nothing on this planet that is not provided for you. There's water that your body needs, there's oxygen, there's shelter, there's warmth from the sun. Truly, we have it, as the saying goes, made in the shade. Everything would be quite grand, the animals say, if we didn't focus overly much on what sets us apart from the person next to us, and as important, attempt to get ourselves apart and over the person next to us, and in a truly heinous way, then punish them for being different than we are. What the ever loving F is up with that? Because that's the thing that really gets the animals going. That we implode amongst ourselves because we think there's only one way to be based on the color of our skin, our culture, our privilege, our ancestors, our actual way of being that keeps our soul energy in the A double asterisk of human experience. And just now, I'm being shown a cartoon like picture of a person bending their head between their legs so that their nose ends up poking out between the butt cheeks. How can we possibly see with any clarity or neutrality how we are destroying any semblance of unified diversity? Note which word comes first if we're not looking up, out, and beyond our own experience. And I get it. From the micro point of view, everybody has stuff going on in their lives. We are not going to go to the thief of joy comparison on this one. And I heard something the other day about positively being toxic from Professor Kate Bowler, Bowler, of Duke University. Once we go down the road of comparing who is worse off as compared to what the other person has, that's game over. Because we force ourselves then to be non authentic with our lives at the cost of another person's life, either being better or not, in our own opinion. What is that about? How can I say, well, my body has POTS, postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, a condition in which a change from lying to standing causes an abnormally large increase in heart rate, brain fog, blurred vision, weakness, fatigue, headaches, heart palpitations, exercise intolerance, and more. And my BFF's body, just air quotes, has MS. This is a true story, by the way. My BFF doesn't have to plan her day like I do. She gets to do the activities I can't do. I have to be so careful, and she doesn't, and she's better off than I am. Yikes. Does anyone else feel that schism of separateness and envy versus embrace and compassion of, bottom line, in this lifetime, two human animals in a relationship each have physical issues with their bodies that affect them emotionally and mentally? We slide so easily into the place of feeling put upon that we forget not to take anyone down with us. And trust me, I've been there before, especially these days when my lower body has less and less functionality, and I grieve inside when others talk about their hikes and getting out in nature to feel the sun and the breeze and hear the birds. Just all of it. And yes, I will soon find ways to do that for myself, such as a walker or an electric bike. But I gotta say, not once have I thought, oh, their lives are much better than mine because they get to hike and do all the things I can't. I am genuinely happy for those people, and I rejoice because they still get to do those things. Why would I want to take away something from someone that I don't have that they still do? I don't get it. The true story I referred to isn't mine. It was on X Twitter, as I referenced earlier. Because the BFF did have MS, I did comment. Then I asked if the person with POTS knew the inside story of her BFF's experience with MS. How did she know it was easier for her? Did she ask about fatigue? And maybe that could be a unifying, misery loves company after all, kind of thing. And boy, did I get called out for missing the point, apparently, of not understanding the POTS experience. Others said that I wasn't understanding the difficulty of the POTS chronic illness and how, when compared with MS, we, as in MS patients, have all the best drugs now with which to combat MS, and there was little to no research being done with POTS, etc. It honestly devolved into an us versus them, in my opinion, POTS versus MS, and allegations that I was not understanding the POTS point of view. I dare say I don't think I was being understood of how to look beyond the human experience and not use another disabled individual's body against them. I think that's ableism, which is defined as any prejudice, bias, and discrimination directed toward people living with disabilities. Another way to put it, quote, the discriminatory action or lack of action, language, or thought flow from one's own innate assumptions about the disabled lived condition. Breaking that down, I love my spelling. Discriminate is to recognize or identify as separate and distinct. Discrimination is prejudiced or a prejudicial outlook, action, or treatment. And finally, prejudice is a preconceived judgment or opinion. So, yeah, I think the person with POTS made an ableist statement about her BFF with MS. And, I tried turning it around so as to distance myself from it. I could say the person with MS was comparing the life of her friend with POTS as being better is the same to me. And all of this is not to say that we've not done horrible, savage things to each other for eons based on discrimination, prejudice, and individual-isms of our self-identified group. And when I say we, it's not the Queen's we, it is white people. We've bought and sold other humans. We've killed other humans simply because we want their land for ourselves. We have made other humans feel less than simply because they look different or act different or, here the truth comes, are different. We've created whole structures where the others we so despise are traumatized for generations and left to attempt to have the lives they want in a structure that was designed to make sure they don't have those lives. We've pushed ourselves into these reactive feral subgroups where the animals fear our wounds will not ever be healed, and unified diversity is but a dream on the horizon, with the sun setting fast on that dream, never to rise again the next day. And this might be the thing that so astonishes and shocks the other species of animals on the planet, that we are so intent upon preserving our own status quo in these groups against others based solely on human experience that we're not really celebrating diversity at all or working toward making sure all are on the same playing field. Because all we see is the difference, the separateness, the you versus me thingy. And to quote one of my favorites, Thich Nhat Hanh, we are here to awaken from our illusion of separateness. The part of the title of this podcast about soup to nuts has its genesis in a Facebook group called Soup Lovers. And for the love of all things holy, do not get into this group. You think to yourself, come on, what could be so bad about a group that loves soup? How is this not the group for me? The phrase from soup to nuts is, quote, an idiom that can mean from beginning to end or to cover every aspect of something. This strange phrase whisks us back to traditional American and British dinners where soup was usually the first course and nuts, well, they're the grand finale. And believe me, this Facebook group has every kind of nut in it and is the epitome of individual-isms, where rather than celebrate soup, which I happen to think is the perfect meal with its protein, veggies, broth, and rice or noodles or beans or whatever, the main dynamic of this group ain't love. It's to critique in a brusque way, which is putting it nicely, any photo or recipe someone in the group posts that apparently is irksome to some other person in the group. And don't ever, ever announce that you're leaving the group because of the caustic environment, because you'll get double the amount of hazing that only an entitled, self-important, and self-aggrandizing minority can give. And you know what? They would love to hear me say this. This would be their badge of honor. If their numbers are accurate, 961,000 members and counting, the following is the type of comment you'll see. Quote, I just popped over here and saw y'all losing it over chili. So now I need to start an argument. V8 juice is an excellent base for chili, especially when you have kids who hate vegetables. I said what I said, live with it. This person will likely get along well in the group, and me, well, at first I was put off by the unkind separatism comments. It's like if you didn't know the secret handshake or where to look for soup recipes on the page, you'd be taken to the center of town and pilloried. Then I saw it as being mildly amusing from an energy standpoint, a place to get my contrast on, and definitely not from the people being vicious standpoint and people's feelings being hurt. Because both things can be true at once, right? And I think that's the right direction to go in with unified diversity that's currently rife with individual-isms. We must first embrace neutral diversity so that structures are dismantled that don't serve all of us equitably with our individual needs in life, and do this without passing judgment or attempting to compare who got what. And in a flip side way, we each do have to choose how to be individually in order to begin an embrace of unified diversity, where the focus is on the unified part and much less the diversity part, which sounds odd and may even rankle a bit, as if I'm suggesting to lay down your activist sword. That's not it. It's about looking beyond, and as Cheetah says, who's just now come sinuously stepping in, by not thinking you can't have it all, you actually can have it all. When you stop comparing your life to another's, and when you stop thinking you're more than or less than, you begin to arrive at a place full of looking beyond diversity-isms that just don't matter anymore, because you're unified in your diversity with others. And at least that's what the animals say. Thanks for listening today. Leave a review and be sure to subscribe to this podcast. I offer all new clients a free 15-minute consultation. To schedule online, go to lizanneflynn.com. Come find me on social media, X, Twitterverse, Instagram, and LinkedIn. I encourage you to sign up for my quarterly newsletter on my website, where I also post notices for upcoming events, the starting date of courses in the Animals iView Academy, and online psychic fairs. The episodes of this podcast are available on my YouTube channel, complete with subtitles. You'll find that link in my podcast footer, and be sure to subscribe. This has been the Animals iView podcast. I'll see you next time.